Hey guys, we're living light RV. We're living full time in the north, in Canada.
Today we have a really important topic to talk about, and that is RVing full time.
Yes,
with a senior dog.
that's right. And we have not always had this dog while we RV'd, but we inherited this dog when our daughter Anna went to Africa.
Exactly. So her name is Daphne. She's a golden retriever crossed with an Alaskan Malamute, and she's been with our family since she was a puppy.
Yes.
She is now, I think she's 11. Is she 12? We should have thought about this before we started filming.
She's 11.
I think she's like 11 and a half.
Yeah.
So she's been Anna's dog, our daughter's dog, the whole time that she's been a teenager and a young adult. And then, like Kent said, she moved to Africa, and obviously you cannot take an Alaskan Malamute with you to Africa, let alone a senior dog. So we said we would take her with us in our motorhome. Now, we do not have slides. We have a very small motorhome.
Yeah, 28-foot, 1992, 93 build.
Yep.
And yeah, it's tight.
We made room for her because she's an important part of our lives. So today we're going to share with you some tips and tricks, some hints and hacks about, like I said, RVing with a senior dog. So let's get into the first one.
So when you are RVing with a senior dog and you're trying to introduce them to the RV life, there can be some fears, some things to overcome. Mm-hmm. And so one thing to make sure is you have their favorite pet, their favorite toy.
Exactly.
Their favorite plushie,
Yep.
so that when they need comfort, they know where to go.
Exactly.
And when they're excited, they can tell you that they're excited because they go grab their favorite toy.
And she's so smart. When we started this, Anna put out all of her toys because, again, downsizing is a big thing when you live in an RV.
Even for dogs.
Put out all her toys and said, pick your favorite ones. She picked 2 or 3 toys. We've acquired 1 or 2 on the way. We've had to discard 1 or 2 on the way. But that bear is actually her very favorite toy.
Yes, it is. And when we saw a grizzly bear on the side of the road, we were talking about a bear a whole bunch, and she grabbed her bear and went,
she's like, I got it.
I have a bear.
I know the word bear. Which brings us to the topic of vocabulary. You actually can teach a dog new vocabulary words.
You can teach a dog new tricks. Now, one of those things that scares everybody is turning on the generator.
Well, it scares her because she's on the floor.
Well,
she can feel it
scares
fire
me.
up and right?
Scares me. It's right underneath me. What's going on? So
okay, Ken. You don't have to be scared of the generator.
It's a 4,000 watt generator. It's attached to the rig, and so when I turn that on, the whole rig knows it.
Yes.
So what I do is I very calmly say...
Hang on. I just want to share a story. The first time we turned the generator on, we weren't even thinking about how scary it could be for Daphne. And so we turned it on, and she kind of panicked, and she's like, what's going on? And yeah, it scared her. So yeah, so now go ahead. We actually taught her.
We taught her how to know that the generator's coming on. I go to the generator switch. I say, Daphne, I'm turning on the generator, and I hit the button.
Yeah.
And I don't belabor it any more than that.
Yeah, you don't want to make it a big deal.
Because I want to tell her it's normal.
Yeah, exactly. And now we say that, and she kind of perks up her ears, she waits for it to start, and then she calms right down again. So you can teach a dog new vocabulary words. Generator's one of them. Another one for her is load up. So when we're getting ready to travel, we want her to be on the couch instead of on the floor. It's just safer for her there. It's more comfortable. Yeah. We just say load up. And now we almost don't even need to say it anymore. As soon as she knows Kent's in the driver's seat, she gets on the couch because she knows the routine.
Yeah.
Because
routines are incredibly important to her.
Yeah, they are. Another couple words you might want to teach your dog. And if you're planning on going full time, you can start teaching them some of these words now. For sure, your recall and stay. So,
Yes.
you know, Daphne come or come here, Daphne stay, Daphne down. Those words can save a dog's life. If you're in a rest area and there's a lot of traffic, or if you're lot docking in Walmart and there's people whizzing by your motorhome, you need to be able to have verbal command of your dog. So make sure that you are working extra on the training and on the response of your dog.
Hey, even out in the wilds.
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't matter really where you are. The stay and the recall are two commands that can really, truly save your dog's life.
Cool.
And even an older dog that maybe doesn't know those words can learn them. So you need to teach them. Another thing that is very helpful is go potty. Or whatever phrase, do your business, whatever it is. Because when you're kind of in a hurry and you want to get somewhere and you're just stopped at a rest area for a couple minutes, you don't want your dog to necessarily take a 45-minute walk. You want them to just get out, do their business, and then get back in. So that's another one. And they will learn what that means. Like, it takes some time. And speaking of training, I actually want to let you know one of my favorite dog training books. It's called The Dog Listener. It's by Jan Fennell. You can get it on Amazon, and we'll actually put the link to that in the description below.
It's a good book.
So that you guys can link to that. We get a little kickback if people buy stuff from our Amazon link. But yeah, so that's a really great book if you're looking for a dog.
And we've had that book in our lives for years.
Yeah, most of our dogs are trained with that method. Anyway, next kind of conversation or topic we want to talk about.
So one thing when you're RVing full-time is you're in different locations, and you want the food to be consistent for your dog. For their dietary and all of their
Can't
other...
be switching back and forth.
If you just keep everything the same, things usually work out better.
Yeah.
So what we have done is we've had a brand for now consistently for the last couple of years. We've had to change it a couple times because of flood and access to different places. But we're back on track. And we want a brand that we can find nationally.
Yeah.
Okay?
So the one we use is from Costco. It's Kirkland brand, and we find that's a pretty decent dog food. But you know your dog, you know what they eat. But that's just something to think about. If your dog is on a special diet that you get maybe from a local supplier, and you can't get that wherever you travel, you might need to make some changes there. So that's one of them. Another thing about that people are concerned about is vet care. So that's actually not a big deal because there's vets in every town and in every city, and even farm towns have vets. So that's not really a problem. If you need a veterinarian, you can just
usually find one.
Keep your dog's records so you can know what their history is. But it's not really too hard to find a veterinarian. So,
and for crossing the border, you may require those vet records.
Yes, exactly. So another thing people have concerns about, these are just a bunch of like random tips, are dog wash stations. So there are lots of places you can do DIY dog wash. Yeah. Car washes sometimes have a dog wash station.
Lots of times car washes will have a pet section.
Yeah. Or different pet stores have a DIY pet wash, or you can always drop them off at the groomer as well. As a senior dog, that is something that we need to be really careful of as far as who's taking care of her, and she's got her routine. She knows, she trusts us, and she knows what's going on. So we like to wash our own dog and do our own grooming with her. So that's another thing you have to make sure is that you have all of your tools with you. You need your nail clippers and your brush and your, if you're using dry shampoo or special shampoo or for their sensitive skin or whatever it is, make sure you have all of that stuff with you.
All right, so make sure your dog, if it gets separated from you, has the tag or the tattoo on the ear, because you're traveling.
Yeah.
You do not have an address where someone can bring back your dog.
Exactly.
Okay? Or your cat.
Easily identifiable, and that is linked to your current information.
Yes.
So, another thing to make sure is that when you are traveling with your dog, you need to make sure that you're being very considerate of the neighbors around you. Campgrounds can be really squishy. We've stayed in some super tight campgrounds.
Yeah, like Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the obvious, right? Pick up the dog poop all the time, no matter where you are. Follow leash rules. Make sure that your dog isn't barking too much or incessantly. Like, there's nothing worse than ruining your camping time when someone's dog is just barking incessantly in their motorhome. If you have to leave your dog unattended, make sure that your dog isn't the type of dog to bark incessantly, and if they are and they have to be with you, then just keep them with you. So that can be training stuff as well. But just I mean, everybody knows, right? A well-behaved dog, everybody loves a well-behaved dog. So just do whatever it takes to make sure that you have one of those.
And if a dog isn't well-behaved, which happens, especially in senior dogs, some senior dogs are definitely not people-friendly.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's just the way it works.
Exactly.
They're a great protector and all those good things. So they're your friend. But yeah, Pete, just let people know. No, stay away.
Yeah,
no, let her be herself. She's a senior
needs her
dog. She needs her
personal
space.
Yeah, you can
that's okay.
You can be friendly about it and still let people know that, you know, don't keep her, don't, you know, bother my dog or whatever. So
yes.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into gear, because there's always extras. It's like having a baby.
Oh my gosh.
There's so
or
much
a toddler.
stuff. I think a puppy or a adult dog doesn't need a lot of gear, but we have found that the older she gets, the more gear she needs. So
correct.
Let's go through that.
We got a dog bed.
Yeah.
Okay, and she used to not ever lay on it. But she actually leans on it a lot more. We got it for her knowing it was a good step in the right direction, and she was like, well, I didn't order this. And
it was
finally,
weird for her at first, but we just encouraged her to use it, and now she'll actually choose to go on there now, which is good.
First thing in the morning,
it gets her off the ground.
There's another factor. We have a really big step in our RV, and it's significant. And so what we did is we got a 6-foot extending ramp.
Yeah.
So we roll out that ramp. She goes down that. Oh, the first couple times was like, you're trying to kill me. And we're just like, no.
But you know, I just YouTubed how to train your dog to use a ramp, and we did those steps, and she's fine with it now.
She doesn't like going up it, but she doesn't need to go up it.
Because
she can bounce.
Yeah, her
so
body.
Pretty good. But going down is like all for the spine, and it's hard, especially
knees.
First thing in the morning.
Exactly, just like me.
Yeah, so we use that. Once in a while, she'll be like, I don't need that.
Yeah, and again, we'll put the links to those
pieces of gear
in the description below. Another thing that's really important is
temperature.
Oh, okay.
So this is a PROTEUS sensor. This is a temperature sensor piece here. This connects to your Wi-Fi. So you can actually add this to your Wi-Fi, and you can talk to this even while you're on the road away from your rig.
What do you mean talk to it?
You can open up the app and see in real time what the temperature is in your rig.
Yeah.
So
it's perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, but a caveat on that is you do need Wi-Fi.
You have to have Wi-Fi.
So
without Wi-Fi, this doesn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work in the Yukon because there was no Wi-Fi up there. So yeah, somebody else's dog is barking. That's really appropriate, hey? Anyway, so yeah, that's called a PROTEUS sensor, and we'll put a description or a link to the description below. And the other gear I was going to talk about is keeping your dog comfortable. Now, the older she gets, the harder it is for her to regulate her temperature. So she gets cold really easily. So I have a vest for her, a Puffy Vest. We have matching Puffy vests.
Yes, in winter, Canada.
So, you know, and I think you've seen pictures of her with a blanket over her, or I'll put a blanket under her bed or whatever, just to help her stay warmer. And she loves it. I can tell she needs it.
We used to always have a collar for her, and then at one point, Anna bought her a, what do you call it? A harness.
Yeah.
And that actually has a pretty strong handle on it. It has 3 rings. It was really helpful when we were in Arizona lifting her up or down over a 7-foot, well, it wasn't, it is 5-foot drop.
Yeah. And
so I could carry her down and or lift her up. And so that's been very helpful. It's very nice because it's not always around the neck.
Yeah, and actually that brings us to a really good point, is that your senior dog will have to slow down at some point.
Yes.
And it won't be able to go on all of the big hikes maybe that you've always gone on together.
Yeah.
So having the harness is a good transition time, because like Kent said, we can help her over some of the more rough terrain that we've gone on. She's at the stage now where we would not take her on a terrain that has on a hike that has really rough terrain.
Yeah, excessive and all that stuff. She still runs and she's still happy.
Yeah.
But to scramble up where she has to be really strong, maybe not a good idea.
So as your dog is unable to follow you on some of those more rigorous hikes, it probably means that they're getting to that place where you have to start thinking about end of life scenarios. And
that's the big elephant in the room.
It really is.
Because when you have pets and they are getting older and they're senior and they all of a sudden have more and more issues, there's going to be a management of what does the end of life look like, and it will happen.
It will. So it's important to prepare yourself for that. And when you're on the road, that can be tricky because you don't know when or where that's going to happen. You know what the situation's going to look like. So kind of go through in your mind's eye, what could this look like?
Yep.
Have a plan in place as far as your financial plan, as far as, burial or cremation. What is that going to look like? And
for everybody, this is their decision to make.
It's so personal.
So when you make a decision, everybody else has an opinion on it, and guess what? It's already a hard decision.
Yeah.
So no matter what it is.
Whether it's a decision to let your dog pass away naturally or to euthanize, like people are very strong emotionally about what their views are on that.
Yes.
And we just want to say that we respect everybody's decision on how they deal with that end of life scenario for their pets, and we don't judge anyone, and we would hope that nobody would judge us or each other on how they handle that scenario. So
and it's
tough. We just wanted to address that big issue. And
we've had other pets before,
and
oh my gosh, when it comes to end of life time, it's like
it's heart-wrenching.
It's so personal.
It's so sad, and it's one of those
deep.
things. Yeah, it's one of those things you really don't even want to think about. But I think it's important, especially being on the road, that's something you need to
and
think,
so we cherish every day we've got.
Yeah, we do. We
there
love our poocher.
So there's some things to be careful. The next point is there's some things to be careful with being on the road. Number one, we are in traffic a lot. That's heavy. Also, there's a lot of dangers that come with the new geographic area that you get into.
Yeah.
There can be poisonous spiders, there can be snakes, there could be alligators, there could be
ticks or wildlife or whatever. Other dogs that maybe are aggressive,
or
whatever.
even trails that you're going on that might actually be dangerous.
Yeah, a cliff. Falling off the edge of a cliff.
And
we actually had that happen to one of our dogs years ago. He was on the pathway. He scooted under the fence and went right down a steep cliff. He could not make his way back up.
Yeah, it was down about 50 feet, and he was scrambling at the side of the river, and there's no way we could get down there.
Yeah, like think of Shadow on Homeward Bound.
Yeah,
that's what when he fell into that pit. That's what happened.
Oh,
to
it
Oli.
was. We looked down over the edge and went,
"How are we gonna help our dog?"
I don't know what to do.
Was there rushing river beside
Guess what? Within 2 minutes, there was a guy there with a really long rope, and he's like, "I'll go down there. Will he bite me? Maybe. Okay, I'll grab him and pull him up."
Yeah.
And that's what happened, and everybody was like happy, and we turned
like,
around.
He was an angel. He rescued our dog.
We turned around, and the guy's gone.
Yeah, it was really bizarre.
Where did he come from, and where did he go?
Yeah, but he was there when we needed him. Anyway, so be very aware of your surroundings when you're out hiking with your dog. So we've got burrs. Yeah, like vegetation.
Yes.
Is another thing, like burrs and cactus or poisonous plants that they could be getting into.
Yes. So do an inspection.
Yeah.
Especially
of your immediate campsite.
We've had dogs quilled before. Okay.
By a porcupine.
Porcupine. Not fun.
Yeah.
So even months later, you're still inspecting their paws and going, "Ooh, there's a little bit of a let's get the magnifying glass out."
Or skunked.
Pull. Oh yeah, we've had it all.
That's another one. Who wants a?
We had our
skunk dog in an RV.
We had our cat skunked.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So we've had experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, even inspect those pads, even weeks and months later of having that porcupine, because some of those quills will work themselves out. And so of course there's also thorns and stings and all these other factors that fit into being in nature.
So have a first aid kit for your dog so you know how to take care of them.
Yes.
Another sort of disadvantage to RVing with the dog is that they bring in more dirt.
Yes.
So they're especially if they got lots of fur, like our fluffer floofer does.
Nature comes inside our rig often.
It's like stuck to her fur, burrs and leaves and dirt, so it makes your rig dirtier. Another thing is they take up valuable space. The dog herself takes up a lot of space, but then all of her paraphernalia that we have with her, dog food and all that stuff, it takes up space. So
speaking of space,
think through those things before you make that decision.
We're in a 10 by 10 outside room because it creates more space for us. Because Bessie's right over there. We're in a campground.
And it is winter in Canada, so we got to stay warm enough.
So that's what we're in right now.
Yeah, exactly. So welcome to our little
Now what are
space.
What are the cons of having?
Well,
what are the pros?
Are the cons. So now we're going to talk about the benefits and the rewards.
What are the benefits and rewards?
Full-time RVing with your dog. First of all, it gives you an incredible opportunity to bond together because you spend so much time together. Another one is adventuring.
Yes. Yeah, you know? Okay, having a dog means you're going outside on routine.
Yes.
Which is way better than saying, I don't feel like it today.
Yeah. You have to go out. You have to take them out. You might as well go for a walk or a hike or whatever, exploring nature. So it's fun for the dog, it's fun for you, and that is amazing. Security is another one.
Yes, that's a good one.
So when we were up in the Yukon, we were always aware of bear activity, no matter which campground we were at or whatever. So here's a little clip actually that I filmed while we were sitting at a campsite in the Yukon, and just talking about your dog is a good security measure.
Yes.
So I'm just sitting here at the fire pit, and Daphne's all like aware. And when she's got her ears up like that and she's like looking around, I'm going, what does she see? What does she smell? And I'm thankful that she's like that, because then I'm not so worried about a bear coming up behind me while I'm sitting around the campfire. In fact, last night she was laying completely still, quiet. She looked up and she took off and she went running in that direction. And by the time I turned on to look, I just saw the back end of something going across the road in front of our rig. So maybe a fox. I don't know what it was. I don't think it was a bear. It was going too fast. But when she does that, I'm like, what's she looking at? Is it just a squirrel? Is it a bear? All right, so here's kind of a crazy thing.
Yeah.
Think like a dog for a second. So you're in the motorhome, you've been at a campsite for a week or two, and you drive somewhere new, and they open the door, and oh my goodness, it's a completely different location. Like,
the door's the same.
Yeah,
they open the door.
The same.
Everything I see is different.
It took her a couple of weeks to get used to that idea. So we would
Yeah.
open the door, and she would just stop and look like, what is going on? This is not what I expected.
Yeah.
So especially in a senior dog, give them a little bit of time to adjust to that. And maybe even, again, that could be another vocabulary word that you could teach them. Like, we're in a new location, or this is a new spot. Like, use the word new.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, okay, so now I know to prepare myself that it's going to be new. They can smell stuff. They kind of know it,
Yeah.
but it's still a bit of a shocker the first few times it happens.
There's another vocabulary word that I use often with Daphne, and that's careful.
Yeah.
Because when she's
crazy.
she's crazy.
She'll just run.
She'll run and she'll leap over a log. She doesn't know what's on the other side of that
Yeah.
log.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
she's
that's-
like, oh well.
But also, in that same vein, it is so good for their mental health to be exploring new places all the time. And every time you pull into a campsite, they get to kind of sniff the perimeter. You can teach them where their personal space is, and
Oh,
you know,
it
it's
brings so
just-
much life to us.
So that's another benefit and a reward for both
She
us
will.
and the dog.
Just to watch her jump into a river, whether it's the Red Deer River in Drumheller, or Yukon River, or the
Totally.
Bonanza Creek, or the Stewart River, doesn't matter. She's just like, I'm in.
And you know, her favorite thing is to return to a familiar location.
Oh, yes.
So once we've been out exploring, we did the Yukon and, you know, whatever, we came back to this location out at Cultus Lake, and she's just like, oh, I've been here before. And she was just so happy to come back
Familiar
to the
smells,
familiarity. Yeah,
this
exactly.
familiar area, the familiar of, and she goes so calm.
Yeah, she loves
after
it.
she knows
Yeah,
she's somewhere familiar.
Yeah, she relaxes.
She's like, oh.
Yeah, deeper relaxation. So we're pretty much at the end of this video, you guys. We would love to hear from you. So leave a comment in the comment section.
Yeah.
Let us know your best tips, especially for RVing with a senior dog. I'm sure we've missed some. There's lots out there.
Yeah.
So what are your best tips for RVing with a senior dog or with any dog? Maybe a cat. We don't have a cat, but I know some of you travel with a cat, so you can let us know your best tips for that as well. Because we're a community, and we really love to get that resource happening.
One more item.
Oh.
And that was when we drove from Abbotsford to Calgary. It was so hot that we had to stop because she was getting
Yes.
too hot.
Oh, yes.
And so were we. And we stopped probably, 12 times to get her into the water.
Finding a creek or a
So
river
that
to get her
she
wet.
had another hour or two of being totally at a good temperature.
Yeah. So
So
that's
we had to do that.
that's something. Oh, the other thing we forgot to say too is when you do have to leave them unattended. We were talking about it a little bit when we talked about the PROTEUS sensor, but when you have to leave them unattended, make sure that you are keeping that rig at the right temperature to keep them safe. For us right now, we have to keep it warm enough.
Yeah.
And in the summer, we have to keep it cool enough. So
Yes.
that's not always easy when you're boondocking, but there are ways to figure that out. And, you know, again, that might be a make or break for some people about whether they bring their dog. Depends on
Yeah.
what kind of dog it is. Is it
Yeah.
heat tolerant? Is it cold tolerant? So
We used to have fish. I wouldn't bring fish camping.
I wouldn't bring fish either.
I mean, full-time RVing.
Full-time RVing.
No, not a good idea.
Anyway, you guys.
Unless it's in the freezer.
We look so forward to hearing your thoughts on this topic. I know it's a huge topic. We could probably talk about it for another hour.
Oh.
And you know, we might cover a bit more in our live streams. So we're trying to do live streams a lot more often for
Yes.
season 7. So if you have a chance to catch us on that, usually Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So
I'll tell you,
maybe next week.
having Daphne with us has only been amazing.
It's been fantastic. It's been a little bit inconvenient. I
Yep.
will say that much, but we just figured it out. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with us today, you guys.
Hey,
my name's
my
Lisa.
name's- And my name's Kent, and we're living light RV.
Do it. We're grabbing life by the tail. Today it's a dog tail. And we'll see you guys next Friday. Take care.